Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Pasov, and I'm the Senior Public Relations Specialist at the Senator Walter Rand Institute for Public Affairs at Rutgers University Camden, affectionately known as WRI. The Institute exists to conduct research into the issues of the day impacting Southern New Jersey and its communities, and to convene stakeholders around that research so that WRI and Rutgers Camden can be the place where the what's next conversations happen. So, from transportation to public safety to education and opioids, WRI is building that knowledge for policy and practice across the region. And this year, we're celebrating 25 years of WRI. And as part of that celebration, I'm honored to be joined by two incredible champions of our mission, our advisory board chairs, Mike Egenton and Amy Osborn. Their leadership and commitment have helped shape WRI's path and deepen its connection to South Jersey. So today we'll reflect on the board's strategic role, its engagement with the community, and the legacy that we're building together. Mike, Amy, thank you both for being here and for all that you've done to support WRI's work. So let's start by getting to know you a little bit better. Amy, we can start with you, but I'm hoping you both can share a little bit about yourselves and what drew you to serve on WRI's advisory board.
I would love to start that. First of all, Natalie, thank you so much for putting this together. And it's such an honor to have the opportunity to talk about our leadership roles with the WRI. So thank you for that. Um, for myself, I was in banking for 8 years, South Jersey native. I grew up in Ocean City, New Jersey, which is in Cape May County. Educated at South Jersey schools, including Rutgers Camden. So I am South Jersey girl through and through. And I was a banker. I was a vice president of private banking for 8 years with Republic Bank, which is the job I was in when I was nominated to be a member of this board. I was nominated for the WRI board by several other board members, including Mike Egenton, who I knew and I had worked with in the past. And they thought that I would be a good fit because of my deep roots in South Jersey and an extensive network of contacts in the area as well. I was voted onto the board 7 years ago in 2018, and I'm honored to serve alongside other like-minded South Jerseyans who are also movers and shakers. And my current role is as CEO of the New Jersey Vietnam Veterans Memorial and Museum, which is located in Homedale, New Jersey.
I started with the Walter Rand Institute 14 years ago. Also, native, live in South Jersey in Voorhees Township. Always had, in my role at the New Jersey State Chamber of Commerce, I'm the executive vice president, but also the chief lobbyist. So I interact with a lot of our legislators statewide, but have that real connectivity with our legislators from South Jersey. So I always felt strongly that we need to make sure that South Jersey is heard both in Trenton and statewide. And I thought that was a role that I could help complement all the great work that the Walter Rand Institute does.
Well, just speaking on behalf of the entire institute, thank you both for really all of your work. To push WRI forward, and it really helps that you both are South Jersey through and through. So, in your eyes, how has the advisory board helped shape WRI's strategic direction over the years? Mike, it seems like you've been with us longer. I'd love to hear your perspective first.
No, it's a great question, Natalie, and I think the diversity of our board and the makeup and the different individuals that have their volunteer time with the Walter Rand advisory board is paramount, and really, I think the spectrum covers a lot of sectors, whether in the private sector or public sector, and I think the collaborative work that we do on behalf of the Rand and the influence that we bring to the table, the knowledge base, and again, the network of people that we know. Really, I think over my years, both as chairman and as an advisory board member, has really elevated the Walter Rand in both credibility, familiarity, visibility throughout the state. And I think that has a lot to do with our board members and in conversations that we have. I know a lot of times when I meet, whether it's CEOs or again, legislators or policymakers, I'll also mention, aside from my role at the New Jersey State Chamber of Commerce, that I am the current chairman of the Walter Rand Institute, and explain to them, what we do.
And that's why you're the best at what you do, Mike. What about from your perspective, Amy?
I had really the same thoughts as Mike was talking. I was like, yes, that's what's in my mind, that the advisory board is comprised of leaders in South Jersey, whether in the business community, the nonprofit sector, or in government. And I think Mike also mentioned this, that combination of individuals, the diversity of those individuals collectively has helped to shape the direction of WRI, by partnering with members of the community to create these lasting and positive change in South Jersey.
So speaking of the community and the change that you're talking about in South Jersey, I'd love to hear, especially from both of your perspectives, in what ways the board has served as a bridge between WRI and the communities that are in Southern New Jersey.
Now, I'll start with it. I know a lot of the past studies that we did. The research team, by the way, is stellar.
Mhm.
As far, and I've often said my quote has always been, with to get to great policy, you need great research, and that's something that WRI certainly has and brings to the table. And I think the research that's done and the network of reaching out to various constituencies in South Jersey helps complement those studies. And there is a very methodical, process that's in place and engagement, with those communities and everything. And it's not just assumptions made. It's, good data is usually backed up by, again, research and reaching out to those individuals in stakeholder sessions and getting their feedback to help
Mhm.
back up some of the great reports that we've done over the years.
Yeah. I can follow up on that. I don't know, Mike, if it's because we were born on the same day, but but we certainly share a lot of the same thoughts. Natalie, Mike, and I have the same birthday, April 9th. But with regards to your question, which I think was, how has the board served as a bridge between WRI and the broader South Jersey community? I think the advisory board, and we said this before, is a well-connected group of South Jersey leaders with tremendous outreach in the South Jersey community. And that for that reason, we are an impactful group of people and a good support system for the WRI. And I think the board, and Mike, you can chime in on this. I think the board is the strongest asset that the WRI has, for connecting with South Jersey's communities and really nurturing the critical relationships around the state.
Totally agree. I often say to people, uh, ironically, we have a new governor elect coming in, and I mentioned this to some people just this week. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that holds true in any business, any job that we all do. If you have a great team, they're all, as I always say in my shop, rowing the boat in the same direction, is critically important. And let me say, it's not just the board that really is very cohesive, but again, kudos to Mavis, our director, and the staff at WRI. Just all of that together, makes the Walter Rand Institute and in combination, a great institution.
Yeah, we really are so fortunate, not just to have an incredible board, but like you mentioned, the staff, the people that we surround ourselves with.
Right.
Um, I know Mavis says this all the time. She says it's the best place she's ever worked. I feel very similarly, despite only being with the Institute for a little over a year now. But especially like getting to know more about the Institute and who it's named after over this last year as we celebrate 25. It's just been really insightful and incredible to learn more about it, come in at such a strong
Mhm.
time. And it's great I didn't know you had the same birthday. You're both Aries, which makes
Yes.
Mhm.
sense. Makes sense. We have fiery personalities as
Mhm.
our leaders.
We're also stubborn. I don't know if you've noticed that too, right, Mike?
I try not to show that. My wife
Yeah.
often reminds me.
So Mike, I'd love to pick your brain, given that you've been with the board you've been with WRI for 14 years, right?
Mhm.
A huge chunk of our 25 in existence. So I'm wondering if you can share an example of when the board's guidance directly influenced, a major decision or an initiative at WRI, given how well connected
Right.
you all are.
No, another great question, Natalie, and thank you for that. Obviously, in the role that I, work at in Trenton with the state chamber, um, everything really boils down to, funding to make sure that, whoever it is that they're, funding gets to, operate their given, institution business. With that, I know several years ago, one of the things that the Walter Rand Institute board, advisory board had decided to do is, um, and we've seen it on examples recently of New Jersey Transit and my members, the business community, was asked to step up in Trenton and pay more through the corporate business tax. The governor at the time had renamed it the corporate transit fee, and inevitably it went into the state budget. Um, Hands were raised in South Jersey saying, well, where's the fairness and equitability, so to speak, if a lot of that funding is going to North Jersey, where they have the bulk of transit, whether trains or buses and such. So most recently, we've seen one of our other board members, Christina Renna, president of the Chamber of Commerce of Southern New Jersey, did a great job of connecting the dots on that in tandem with what we did with our transportation study at the Walter Rand Institute, and reached out to major policymakers, including Assembly Majority Leader Lou Greenwald, and connected with Governor Murphy, and they successfully got some funding and more, I believe, buses and connectivity in certain places in South Jersey. So that's one of the most recent examples. One of the past examples, when I first started on the board, we had done a study saying, is South Jersey getting its fair share? And that report really took off. We got a lot of media outreach on that study, but I wanted to take it one step further because of my work in Trenton. I said these studies are only as good as getting them in front of the right people, not just the press and media, but to get it to decision makers, policymakers. And, we first met with our South Jersey contingency, and then we said, we need to have this message brought to Trenton because that's where the decisions are made and where the funding comes from. And we actually had a special hearing in Trenton totally dedicated to that report. And the nice thing about it was the makeup of a legislative committee includes members not only of South Jersey, but of North Jersey. And they needed to hear from the Walter Rand Institute because, a lot of times when they think of Rutgers, the automatic fallback is, oh, the Egenton Institute in New Brunswick. So it was great that we started to elevate the Walter Rand Institute, explain the study to the legislators, saying, as you're looking at the state budget every year, please consider South Jersey, where it continues to grow. There's a lot to be offered in South Jersey. We're
Mhm.
not landlocked like in North Jersey. We have the flexibility to do a lot of things, and we have great research and studies to back up when we make the call or do what I do, lobby for those resources. So those are two really fine examples of the research, the work we did, taking it out, press and media covering it, and then talking to our decision makers in Trenton to make a difference.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I talk about this all of the time. What's the point of doing research if it's not actually going anywhere, if it's not,
Right.
Mhm.
being disseminated widely, if it's not, getting in the hands of the policymakers in this case. And so I think to have folks on our board or folks that we know surround ourselves with that are able
Right.
to do that and help us get there is really, really important. And it's
Mhm.
great to see that, even over your tenure, we've seen South Jersey getting its fair share overarchingly. Now we're seeing more, transportation coming our way with the most recent bill that went into effect. So really, really great to see. And I know that we wouldn't be able to get there for our wonderful state if it wasn't for, I think, the connections, A, the research, and B, the connections to
Mhm.
help
Right.
get it in the right hands.
Yep.
So shifting a little bit here, moving from the board's role and influence into general engagement and collaboration. I guess I'm just wondering, I know you've talked a little bit about this, but I'm wondering if you both could speak to why you personally are proud to be a champion of WRI. And Amy, I'd love to start with you.
Well, that's an easy one for me. I think I first attended a WRI event with Nick Aselta, who's also on our board, and I think he was in elected office at that time. And I was so impressed. I mean, up until that time, I had never heard of the WRI. And I was so impressed by the event, which was held, I believe, at Scotland Run. You might be able
Mhm.
to track that back to what year that was, but it was held upstairs at Scotland Run Golf Club. And they were honoring a group of extraordinary people. One speech was better than the next, and I was so impressed by it. And I thought to myself, well, it would be really great to be involved with this organization some point in my career. And then fast forward to when I was working with the bank and was nominated to be on the board, I was thrilled. As someone who grew up in South Jersey, and I think I'd mentioned this, someone who was educated in South Jersey schools, including Rutgers Camden. Um, I'm proud of WRI's commitment to South Jersey. It's unwavering, and I'm proud to support an organization also that uplifts and strengthens South Jersey communities. WRI partners with them to kind of create lasting positive change in South Jersey. I think there's no better way of saying that. And also, they represent a legacy of, I guess, public service and civic leadership in South Jersey. And I think I'm just really proud to champion that mission and help to carry that legacy forward into the next 25 years. And that's really why I love championing the WRI.
What Amy said is spot on. I mean, impressed with, again, the staff pulling off these great events, pulling us all together. But honestly, it comes down to me, the caliber of the people, serving with Amy, some individuals who have been with the Walter Rand Institute from the beginning. Pat Egan Jones comes to mind, who has the history, the knowledge, the background, the tenacity of, keeping us all in line and not forgetting, the original mission of the great Senator Walter Rand and how important not only was South Jersey to him, but when I met him in Trenton, he certainly was, his nickname was the Godfather of Transportation and helped, was instrumental with then Governor Tom Kane to make sure that we created a transportation trust fund to make sure our roads, our bridges,
Mhm.
infrastructure, which is critically important to my members in the New Jersey State Chamber of Commerce, keeping, goods and services and people moving. And you're only as good as keeping it, constantly updated and improved. And we've seen those projects, take off in South Jersey, and we'll continue to see that. But that had to do with Senator Walter Rand's original vision, and Pat Jones had worked with Walter Rand, and you know, was able to participate on the board after all these years, and again help guide us. And as I said, the caliber of the individuals and the others that I serve with, again, complements the great work of both Mavis, the director, and the staff at the Rand. It's very helpful to have all that sort of cooperative work happen, because it makes our job easier as, myself and Amy being, the leaders of the advisory board, and how we, communicate that message outside of, Rutgers and
Mm.
the Camden area in South Jersey. And again, for me, when I'm talking to, leaders in Trenton, it's good to see that, Walter Rand is right up there with some of the other academic institutions around the state.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you. And I'm really glad that you bring up the namesake of who this is all for, Senator
Mm.
Walter Rand. It's so great to have people that actually served with him, worked with him so closely.
Mhm.
You, Pat, a number of people on our board and people that we work with. It's really special to be at an organization where it's not named after someone from 100 years ago. This is
Right.
someone who not only is so recent, but has had such a profound impact on specifically South Jersey, and loved South Jersey deeply. And so it's really special that you, Mike, and others were able to work with him and know him, and kind of be able to help us carry that legacy on, even though, a lot
Yeah.
of staff didn't work with him, directly.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't add, we just celebrated the Walter Rand's 25th anniversary event, and it was absolutely, wonderful and outstanding. But to complement it, it was great to have the Rand family there, and Judge Rand also, serves on the board with us, and to have their, again, great insight and guidance, and to celebrate them as well as others who have made the Rand successful, is nothing short of fantastic. And,
Mhm.
setting our, as Amy said earlier, not only setting the legacy, but really pointing us in the right direction of the great continued work in the outlying years.
And I just wanted to say, Natalie, on as a follow up to something that you said earlier, um, and Mike is one of them because he's been here for 14 years. But I think it really says a lot about an organization, and it speaks volumes about this organization, that so many of our members, like Mike, like Pat Egan Jones and others, that have been involved for so many years and are still here and still pushing the mission and still so passionately involved. That is really really an incredible thing, because there's a lot of organizations out there, and they go through board members and they do their tenure. Maybe it's a 3-year term, and then they switch, and some, other people come in. But this organization, what I've noticed, and what I observe, is that people don't want to leave this board. They're in it to win it. They love the mission. They love South Jersey. They appreciate Senator Walter Rand's contributions to South Jersey, and they want to be something bigger, a part of the greater mission for South Jersey. And and Mike is an example of somebody, 14 years on this board. Mike, that is really incredible. And I hope to serve 14 years on the board. But I love the fact that this organization has had such long-term board members, that it's just so many years of commitment. It's really impressive.
Really beautifully said, Amy. I couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you.
Thank you.
I kind of, I guess, piggybacking on this idea of this symbiotic relationship, I think there's a lot that WRI does for Jersey, WRI and the board, and then I think there's a lot that the board does for us. But I'm wondering, like, how has your involvement with WRI shaped, maybe perhaps shaped your understanding of South Jersey's needs and opportunities? Given that we work with community closely, is there anything that, um, you may not have been aware of that WRI has helped you, set off a light bulb for you?
I'll take that, because as you
Okay.
were saying that question, Natalie, it just really came to mind for me. Um, Sometimes we kind of live in our, I don't want to say silo, but sphere of influence. and you think South Jersey, and I knew Camden County and Gloucester County and Burlington County, but very interesting based on the research and work that the Walter Rand staff did over the years, particularly when it comes to healthcare and services, and helping those folks out in need. I finally came to a realization that South Jersey is quite unique. Uh, Cumberland, Salem County are different than Gloucester and Camden, which is different than out by Atlantic County. Um, there might be similar needs, but there may be more pressing needs in certain parts of the state. And I think that was based on some of the research that was done, sort of as a wake up call of the need. Particularly, I'll say Salem County, only because one of my board members at the state chamber, I served with her when she was chair of the state chamber, and she's now the president of Inspira Hospital, Amy Mansue. I can't say enough about Amy. Everyone that knows her respects her and her ability. She's run, several worked at several hospitals and has, run their operations. And again, down in Inspira, and the work that the RAND has done with Inspira, who also has, a seat on our board, has really been enlightening. And I think, you know, really looking into that, research, and realizing that, uh, how diverse and different we are in South Jersey. Uh,
Mhm.
we are one South Jersey, but as I often say, there may be different needs in different parts of the state, and certainly with the research and with the work of Inspira, I think that was certainly enlightening for me.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'll just piggyback onto that. I was fortunate enough to work for a state senator down in Cumberland County, and having worked down there, living in Camden County, having grown up in Cape May County, and then all of a sudden working in Cumberland County, and you see how different it is. It's almost
Mhm.
like a different country.
Mhm.
And I really got to experience the different counties in South Jersey, Salem, as Mike mentioned, Cumberland, and how different they are from Cape May and Atlantic and the rest of the counties. So I did work, my career has enabled me to learn about the issues in South Jersey. So I really had a good understanding of a lot of it coming onto this board. But I would say mainly my involvement has really helped me understand that WRI, yeah, as a whole, that being a part of WRI means investing in the next generation of change makers, of scholars, and of community leaders. And so that is really, that was really my big aha moment, is what the bottom line was with WRI. And I think that is such an incredible mission. Aside from the research, you're impacting future generations, and that's a big deal.
Mhm.
Absolutely, Amy. Thank you for mentioning that. We have so many different student engagement initiatives, and that's a
Mhm.
very key component of our work that I think people sometimes forget about, given that, we're a research institute. But given that we're at Rutgers Camden, we really try to include the students, and Mike, you say it best. They are our future.
Future workforce, that's what we're always striving for. We
Yeah.
actually started a young professionals event a couple of years ago at the state chamber. It's been nothing but successful because we're all not going to be around in our respective organizations. We have to make sure that we're setting up, and grooming and getting ready for the young professionals to step
Mhm.
in all our roles. And as Amy said, taking over the helm, and really taking the work that we've all collectively done, and continue to guide them in the same direction.
Absolutely. So as we kind of close out here, thinking about our future, the future workforce, the future vision, we're celebrating 25 years. I'd love to hear what you two envision for WRI's next chapter, and specifically, where do you see the board's role in shaping it?
Well, I often say that we have to continue to, we're at a great visibility level with the Walter Rand Institute, but we need to continue to work at that because we just went through an election cycle. We have a new governor coming into office, and she'll bring new people in who make decisions on where their future lies. There will be new legislators. And so you're always constantly trying to meet with them and as I say, as a lobbyist, when somebody asks me, what do you do? I said, first and foremost, I educate and inform people and let them know like what it is, the issue is, and so they can make an informed decision and hopefully the right decision. And, I couple that with not only the work that I do at the state chamber, but on behalf of the Walter Rand Institute to make sure these new people that are going to be taking the helm come January of 26 will understand and recognize the importance of the Walter Rand Institute because as I said, it all always comes down to funding at the state budget come in June and making sure not only Rutgers has a seat at the table, but hopefully through myself, Amy, and other board members and the relationships that they have with various people, both in the municipal, county, and state level, help raise that bar, that visibility, enhance the credibility, and then again, makes it a successful organization. And as you said, Natalie and Amy, it is all about the students. And, our annual event is always very successful about making sure that, we help out the students, the future workforce of New Jersey.
Yeah, it's all about legacy, isn't it? In all different ways. And I think that WRI represents a legacy of not only public service, but also civic leadership in South Jersey. I'm very proud to be a part of that legacy. And to your question, Natalie, I envision WRI continuing to grow and continuing to give a voice to regional issues that often go unheard. I would also expect that our advisory board members, who are all dedicated to the WRI, will continue to be engaged and strongly support WRI in this mission.
Amy, Mike, thank you both so much for sharing your insights, your stories, your vision for WRI. It's so clear that under your helm, your leadership, it's not only guided WRI's strategic direction, but also strengthened its ties to South Jersey legislation and community. And so we're grateful for your continued partnership and for helping us build that legacy that will serve South Jersey for hopefully generations to come. So here's the next 25 years and to the board's continued role in shaping a vibrant, inclusive future for our region. Thank you both.
Cheers. And thank you,
Thank you.
Natalie. Thank you so
Yeah, thank you.
much.
Here, here. Very good.
We
Thanks.
appreciate it.